Okay. All right. So welcome everyone. Um, Today we're going to talk about how to implement skill-based learning in your organization. My name is Saad Chaudhary. I'm CEO and founder of Paradiso Solutions. So I thought before you listen and maybe take my advice, you should know a little bit of my background to see where this 4M skills framework came from. So I'm going to spend about 3-4 minutes talking a little bit about the backstory and some information about me, which is going to relate to what I'm going to talk about in next 40 minutes or so. So I founded Paradiso about 12 years ago, and last couple of years I've been working on a couple of AI startups. One of them being CogniSpark AI, which is an e-learning authoring tool, and Indra AI, which is AI-based tutoring platform for corporate as well as education. So I started my journey in Silicon Valley and worked for various companies of various sizes. And that gave me the background of what it feels like to be on the other side as an employee, as an executive sponsor of L&D programs, how I decided the budgets and which programs to implement. And that experience really helped me when I was on the L&D side. After that, I studied business at Harvard Business School. And one of my favorite professor, Robert Kaplan, who is a co-founder of Balanced Scorecard, that was really the influence which led me into the learning and development and organizational uh, capability building kind of area. And after I left Harvard Business School, I started Paradiso. So those who are familiar with balanced scorecard, this will be very familiar diagram. But those who are not, I'll just spend like 20 seconds on it. Basically, balanced scorecard, which has been invented by Dr. Robert Kaplan, basically aligns the financial incentives of your company with the internal processes and learning and growth. And it's a very comprehensive framework, so I highly recommend you check it out. Uh, my experience in learning and development for the last 12 years, I've worked with over 500 clients, served over 5 million learners. Most of this is in corporate space. Some of it is in higher education. These are some of the clients we've worked for, from OnePlus, the mobile company, Amway, University of Virginia, Flipkart, Air India, IBM, Johnson Control. So these are the clients we have worked for. And in last few years, these are some of the frameworks and models I have built, and you may want to check out these resources on our website. So one of them being the transformation acceleration framework, which aligns your entire organization to execute much better. And the ROI calculator is used widely in L&D. It basically gives you as an L&D or HR folks how to communicate ROI in objective numerical fashion to your CXOs, to your chief executives. And then there is an ebook and a calculator. So if anybody is interested, just put it in the in the chat, and we'll send some links there. Um, I I talked about AI being one of my expertise, and this all kind of relates to the skills framework we're going to talk about. And with that, I think I'm going to jump into the skills, how to implement skills in your L&D programs. Along the way, if you have questions, you will see the Q&A tab on your at the ribbon at the top. Just click on it, put your questions there. At the end, we'll address some or all the questions depending on how much time we have left. So feel free to add questions there or comments. Now let's get started. So the key to growth for any organization, but especially a services organization, is to find the right person at the right time, at the right cost. Sounds simple, but this is really the equation which either becomes a break in your organization growth or acceleration. If you're able to find the right person at the right time, at the right cost, uh, and if there is no framework to manage this, once your company goes over 300, 400 employees, whether it's a services company or product company, it's very hard to find one person or a team of people in 400 people or 4,000 or 40,000 employees organization who is the right fit at the right cost for a particular project. So there is no single standard or unit you can figure out where is this person, what does it cost, and this is exactly the problem we're going to address in today's call. So that leads me to this 4M skills framework. And 4M skills framework is a systematic approach to manage resources, your employees, your resources, using skills as a standard unit of communication. So let's take an example. I'll take an example of IT consulting firm. So let's say John is a director of operations. Sales closed a deal, and he has to deliver. One of the things he has to deliver in this project is 10 senior resources, Java resources. Now, the recruiters find some people within the organization, they do a few new hires, the project starts, and 3, 4 months later, the client complains that these are not the right people. So somewhere something went wrong, and this is very typical example of many services company, whether it's a healthcare consulting or healthcare company who's looking for particular nurses, doctors, or IT consulting, management consulting, financial consulting, finding someone at the right time with the right cost and matching that with the requirement. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. If it's not, and there is a better way of doing it. And that's what we're going to address today. Now, the framework which we're going to talk is going to create the alignment in your organization from having the executives give you the strategic vision where the company wants to go, to the recruiters who are going to find the right people using skills as a language, competencies and skills as a language. The HR are going to make sure the path for these employees, the onboarding of these employees, the promotions of these employees, and the development of these employees is taken care. And then the managers will have a way to know what resources they have, what they don't have, what is the gap. So this framework will help you create alignment from HR all the way to operations. It prevents wrong hires, speeds up resource allocation. It almost becomes like a Excel-based exercise as opposed to multiple calls and back and forth and somewhat subjective allocation of resources. You want to get more as objective as possible in allocating resources. So there are many benefits to this framework. And with that, we'll look at the 4 steps which are part of this 4M framework. The first is mapping, right? I'm going to go through each of these steps in following slides over next 20, 30 minutes. But you start with what skills you want. That's called mapping. Then measure where your organization stands in terms of the skills which already exist in your organization. And then matching, you match the skills with the requirements of your internal clients or external clients. And the last one is mastery. How do you build the L&D programs, the upskilling, the reskilling, the feedback, the skill gap analysis, and help employees master the skills you want. So at a high level, these are the 4 steps. So let's jump into one of the first steps, which is skills mapping. So In skills mapping, essentially what we are doing is we are creating a map of how the territory looks like. This is not about your organization. This is about if you have an ideal organization, if you have like, let's say, let's take a, uh, within an organization, let's take a department such as human resources. In human resources, you have recruitment, you have training, you have HR management, and you want to see for this particular area within this department, what skills you need. And this map is called skill taxonomy, right? This is what determines what skills are needed for a particular job function. So I'll take another example. In your IT, information technology department, let's say there is data and informatics team, and that team needs deep learning, big data, machine learning. These are the skills they need. So mapping this out, it's called skills taxonomy, which you can do it on organization level, department level, a particular project level. Let's say you're in consulting, IT services company, and you have a big client. Then for that particular client, to serve that client, if you are deploying hundreds and thousands of resources on one particular client, you better have this kind of taxonomy in place to avoid wrong hires, misalignment, miscommunication, and ultimately the client satisfaction suffers. So whether it's internal or external projects, this is your map. This is your map of your territory. But that's what's which skill. There's another part to this is at what level, right? So a skill, when we talk about employees and talent in terms of objective numbers such as skills or their skill rating, then for somebody, let's say for a IT manager who's looking for Java developer, for him, he says, I need a senior Java developer with 5 years of experience or 10 years of experience. So 10 years of experience person for a recruiter or a senior Java developer for recruiter could mean different things, right? So if you say the word senior recruiter, that could mean one thing to you, but I may have some other idea in my mind because we're doing subjective interpretation of that skill. Even though you put in the number of years as a measuring tape, somebody, and we all know this, you have somebody under you who has, let's say, 3 years of experience. Let's say two employees have the same number of experience, 3 years of experience. But many times you would see that their skill level or could be 50% or almost 80–90% differ with the same number of years of experience. So this kind of language where you're talking about experience, you're talking about job title, that doesn't help you to create alignment. That doesn't help you in smooth communication and resource allocation. So what we want to do is we want to have a scale. This could be called as a competency scale. It can be called skill scale, depending on how, what lingo, what language you use, but these have same intent. So you could have some kind of scale. This is a very standard scale. The number of clients I've worked with, almost 70–80% of the clients use this scale. Some of them use 1 to 3. Some of them use 1 to 10, depending on how complex the skill is. But let's take this as an example, right? So the level 1 skill, let's say we're talking about a customer service representative, right? So instead of talking about junior, senior, 10-year experience, 2-year experience, if you say that you want it at level 3 skill. So level 3 means they're at intermediate level. That means they have the skill. So customer service representative needs to have rapport building, great communication, ability to negotiate or handle complex situation when the customer is angry. So these are different skills this particular job profile have. So an intermediate skill in, let's say, rapport building, I mean, this particular candidate Of course, he knows what that knowledge is. He has some experience, but he is actually able to apply this experience on the call while working with, let's say, angry customer. So that would be considered intermediate. An expert would be considered recognized authority. And as I build this entire webinar in next, what we have 30 minutes left, you will see all of these, how these four steps, this skill scale, the skill taxonomy, how is that entire framework put together? So it becomes more of a mathematical, logical framework. So now we understood the skills scale. Let's look at example. So a senior backend Java developer, when we are doing skill mapping, will say, I need Java programming at advanced level. He needs to have, let's say, system architecture at novice level. If I go back here, novice is level 2. So it becomes a numerical conversation, right? So even though here I didn't put the numbers, I have put the names. Intermediate would be 3 and advanced would be 4, right? So Java at 4, machine learning at 3, so and so forth, right? So this is the requirement. This is what we want. The skills and the level. And there is a Excel template. If anybody, all these four steps are being mapped out in Excel, and there is an ebook which goes with it. It's a free resource downloadable. If you need access to that, just put your email address, and you need just put some comments on the chat. Our team will get you that. But you would have some kind of Excel, or your LMS, the learning management system, will have that. So we're done with skill mapping, right? So now talk about the second step, which is skill measurement. This is also called skill matrix. So in measurement, what you want to do is you know what skills you want in particular department. We took example of HR, we took example of IT. So you want to list those skills, and you want to list your existing members, and you want to rate them. You want to measure them, and how to do that we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. But let's take example here. They're using 1 to 5 skill level, 1 to 5 skill scale, and 5 being the subject matter expert, the guru. One is just novice, just started. So team member C, for example, he's in presentation skill, he's at 2, as opposed to in customer focus is 3. And some other candidate, member B, is at level 5. And this is a snapshot of a particular team or a department, how many numbers of people you have, or your entire company. You get an objective view of what skills, what is your inventory, what do you have in your company. So in this particular team, it's a small team of 5 people. They are very strong in customer focus, and their weakest point is place is Excel. Now, for whatever reason, these are the skills they need. Maybe they're in finance or accounting, what have you. And then you have an average of people. So this kind of also gets you an idea in your inventory. What do you have more? What do you have less? Sort of. So this is the skill measurement. Now the question is, here's an example where we're going to compare 2 people. Another example. So Carlos and Ravi, both are senior Java consultant, but one person's score is 15, another is at 11. And they could potentially, Carlos could potentially have more number of experience than Ravi. But at the end of the day, when we do the actual assessment, we find out that Ravi has much better score, considering these are the skills you want. These are the competencies you want. And so for one particular department or one particular client you have, they may need a senior Java consultant who is expert in machine learning and don't need any front-end programming. So this skills requirement will change. The measurement will change. So this will come from your client, which could be your manager, which could be your client. So this gives you an objective idea of measuring your talent. Now, how do you do this measurement, right? So there are tests you use. You could buy this test, or you could build in-house. You may use your recruitment test, right, to see what skills they are at. And you want to probably have a multiple ways of looking at the same talent. One is the objective multiple choice test. Another is a self-evaluation. So in Paradiso LMS, we have the entire skills framework from level step 1 to step 4, all the way to measurement. And you could put some questions which the users can answer, and they can do a self-reading. So some of the question in this would be, if you go back here, that Mr. Carlos, how do you rate yourself on scale 1 to 5 in machine learning programming? Right. So this is the self-evaluation data you can get. The third thing is manager evaluation. This is very common. So once the self-evaluation is done, the manager gets an email saying, please evaluate this candidate. It takes anywhere between 2 minutes to 15 minutes, depending on how complex it is. The manager will give him objective score on the same question which were asked in the self-evaluation. So the questions for manager would be, Mr. Manager, evaluate Carlos on front-end programming from 1 to 5. One more perspective you can give is the co-workers. So the colleagues can also, in certain scenarios where there's a lot of teamwork is needed, the colleagues can also rate and measure the skill of each other. So we do this a lot with a lot of companies in Middle East, the oil and gas companies, where the teamwork is extremely crucial and the teams are huge. A drilling site could have hundreds of people, and the colleagues are working with each other as opposed to the manager all the time. So they use this a lot. And you don't have to use all these four perspective to shed light on the skill of a particular employee. If you can use all four, great, because you're going to get a better measurement, right? So think of this as a different way of measuring something, and that will obviously the quality of the measurement will be better as opposed to a single tool to measure. Some of the customers we have worked with use 2 of these, 4 of these. Some of them just rely on the objective test. Again, depend on your industry, depending on the job title, and depending on how much budget and efforts you want to put into this. So here, a test results could look like something like this. Then you take all of these 4 results, you make an average of those, and those will be the final levels of this person once the measurement is done. As a reminder, if you have questions, feel free to put it in the chat. If you want the Excel of these templates I'm showing, or the ebook which goes with this, feel free to put those comments in there. We'll be happy to share that with you. Now let's go to the step 3, which is skills matching, right? So what we have done so far, we mapped the territory in the step 1, which is skill mapping. Then we did a measurement of where our organization stands. So this is the skill inventory, is where your organization stands. So if you look at the first step is a map, and if you take an analogy of a GPS, the GPS takes you from point A to point B, the point B being your destination, your goal, your milestone. So the step 2 lets you know this is where we are and this is how far we need to go, right? And skill matching is where you're taking what you have and the requirements, whether it's internal or external, and you're trying to match those you're trying to match that puzzle. And we haven't talked about a very important aspect here, which is the cost, right? Uh, because maybe some of your customers, internal or external, obviously they have a budget constraint. They want the skilled people, but at a lower cost. So that's what makes this whole matching equation extremely complex, right? If you could, you would just hire A players in the industry at a very high cost, and obviously that will meet the requirement. But then the budget will go outside the boundaries, right? So you want to have your skills and cost, the skill inventory and the cost on one side, and the requirement on the other side, and you want to do that matching. And that's why some of these Excel templates, the learning management system, this kind of framework becomes a way to have a alignment in your organization where the budgets, the executives, the vision, the operations, the finance, the HR, they're all talking the same language. So in our LMS or some of the LMS out there, you would be able to search. Let's say you have a requirement for you need one more sales manager for new territory you are going after. So that's the your executives said as a new strategy, we are going into this new region, maybe Middle East or Southeast Asia. And instead of hiring from outside, you want to see if whether we can match somebody who is internal. So your LMS portal, if you put those kind of skills like negotiation skills, ability to travel, or closing ratio, or product knowledge, whatever the skills you want, you should be able to just search those skills and get a list of candidates within your company, just like you would get it um, in your recruitment portal like Naukri or Monster or Indeed. And if you can do that internally, it really gets the most out of the talent you have, and the people internally gets the opportunity, and they don't need to leave your organization to be able to grow their career. So you want to have elements which has this advanced searches where you can search by the skills and the levels. The last step is skills mastery. And in skills mastery, what we're doing is we're trying to figure out what the skills gap is. This is what we want. This is where we are. And this is the gap for a particular candidate, for a particular team, particular department, or your entire organization. So just like I was showing you earlier, we had that team in skill measurement mapped out, the customer, the finance team, and we could see what they were strong at, what inventory we have more of, and what do we lack. And whatever we lack, we need to fill that inventory if that's something important to your organization. So that filling up the gap is skill mastery. And how do you do that? You obviously do that with learning and development. And now this learning and development could be formal training through e-learning courses, face-to-face training. It could be mentoring. Could be pairing with colleagues who are at a higher skill level. It could be informal learning, where you have a Netflix or YouTube like interface within your organization where people can just search for machine learning, data analytics, these kind of courses, and learn from it informally and build their skills. Or you could have some of your experts within your organization create informal videos, informal webinars, and put it in this informal portal, which is LXP, you could call it, or a knowledge base, you can call it, and fill some of these gaps. So there is many ways to get to mastery. It's useful for upskilling, cross-skilling employees, and what you're looking for a system, or if you want to use Excel, you could, but I prefer your LMS system to have a spider web diagram kind of feature where the entire skills for a particular candidate is mapped out. So in this particular case, this purple is the candidate. The green one is what's required for that job function. So for this particular job function, because it's customer facing, maybe the communication skills are important, or maybe it's a very complex project. But this particular programmer is not great at communication skills, right? So you could see there is a skill gap here, there's a skill gap here, there is over skill here. We need a level 2, but he has level 4, which is great. So this visually represents for L&D, for their direct manager, as well as for that employee, what skills gap that they have. And in our LMS, it will also automatically recommend what courses they can take using our AI or recommendation engine. If they click on learn now, they can start filling this gap right there and start getting to the mastery. So mastery in the context of getting the job done, not just for the sake of learning. So this is where we want to go. This is where we are. And that gap needs to get filled through skill, skilling, upskilling, cross-skilling, training. This is the example where the skill, what level that they are, and you could have, let's say, adult program, a certificate program in the evening they're taking with some institute or Coursera. They can attach those certificate. They can do this in LMS. They can do some mentoring. So there will be evidences attached to make sure they're achieving that level of mastery. I did an entire webinar last month about the impact of AI in training and education. We have recordings of that, but I'll talk briefly here how this is relevant. So all of us know in last 12 months have been big in AI, and AI is going to create such a massive change in the way businesses work, how the marketplace functions, how what work humans will do, what work machines will do, is going to create massive unemployment, is going to create massive opportunities for some people, right? And that would mean it's a great time for L&D and HR, because any kind of change, any kind of transformation, the moment it touches employees, that's where the role of HR and L&D becomes paramount. So in the age of AI, the emotional connection, the understanding the skills of your organization, who needs a reskilling, what skills we lack to be survive in the AI age. All of those things are going to happen so rapidly that you need some kind of framework, some kind of foundation to be able to navigate this terrain, this new future, which is coming at us extremely fast. Most people, most executives, most HR underestimate how fast AI is coming to their organization, to their jobs, to their market share, right? It's almost like a tsunami coming at us, but it's not all doom. In this challenge, there's a huge opportunity for some companies to do 10x growth leveraging AI. Is the same thing which happened 25 years ago when the internet came in. So companies like Blockbuster in US went bankrupt. The Barnes and Noble, which was a bookstore, went bankrupt, and Amazon became the #1 company in the world. Netflix became the #1 company, video sharing company in the world, while their competitor died because they were not able to navigate this change of internet. So think of AI as 10 times more powerful than internet, at least 10 times. And it's extremely crucial that we know what skills our organization have, what skill our organization need to survive, what reskilling is needed, upskilling is needed, what cross skilling is needed. And so this makes the entire L&D budget and the requirements uh, probably 5 to 10 times, because how are you going to execute without resources? But on the other hand, the AI itself will come handy to be able to do reskilling, cross-skilling, evaluating employees. So one of the product we launched a couple of years ago is Indra AI. So it is an AI tutor which takes your employee from onboarding all the way to offboarding through a conversational interface, just like this is Indra, right? She's a AI video thought. She talks to the employee the day the employee joins the company. She welcomes him and starts building rapport. Then she starts understanding this employee, whatever the employee needs, this AI tutor is able to give. How does it give? Because of whatever information your organization have in a very secure private manner is fed to this AI tutor. Your company manual, your onboarding handbook, your video recordings, your courses, your company website, all of this stuff is fed to the AI tutor. And this AI tutor becomes the buddy of your new employee. And it's able to onboard that employee, able to train and get that employee up to speed much faster and much better than human can do. As a HR, you will not be able to spend all day with a new employee. You have other things to do. So a lot of the employees' first impression of the company is in first 2 months depends on how the onboarding was done. That's how they form the impression, how long they're going to stay in this company, whether this is the short route this is like a short detour for them for a couple of years, or this is the company they want to build their entire career for. That gets formed almost 80% of the way in first couple of months, how they are done onboarding, the training, the company information. If they feel lost, they're going to lose the confidence right away. So what I'm trying to say is that this AI tutor platform for upskilling, reskilling, understanding your company, your processes, your changes could be a massive help for most of the company as we navigate through this change. The second AI tool, which is a lot of tools are coming up. The one we released, it's called Cognispark, a e-learning authoring tool. This e-learning authoring tool, you just give it a topic. Let's say machine learning for retail or leadership for HR executives. You just give it a topic. You go get a coffee in 10 minutes. You have entire course from beginning to end with videos, with voiceover, with translation in any number of languages you want, with storyboard, course outline, assessment, everything, the entire course done for you when you come back after drinking that coffee. Now, let's be realistic. Is that course going to be 100% ready to be published? No, but it will take you 70-80% of the way. The last 20%, whatever modules you don't want, whatever um, changes you want to add something, remove something, that you can do with our editing authoring tool right there. But it has saved you weeks and weeks of time. But how this is relevant in skills mapping and skills framework, because now you can be much more ambitious about skill mastery. You'll be able to deliver a lot more personalized content for different level of employees. Right now, you could only afford one course on a machine learning for all your employees because you didn't have the funds, you didn't have the time to make 10 courses for 10 different people. But now you can create very personalized courses, and then AI tutor will feed this content. It will interact with your employees and see where is that. If the employee is struggling, when the AI tutor talks to it, that the AI tutor will ask some questions about machine learning, let's say, or handling negotiations for sales training, and they see that this employee is struggling, the AI tutor can also read emotion. It doesn't have its own emotions, but it's adaptive in the sense that it can read other person's emotion through voice intonation, the use of words, the pauses, and the entire AI algorithm. if it realizes that this particular employee is struggling in negotiation skills, they don't have what it takes to close the deal, then it will lower the difficulty level, get that student little by little through practice and simulation up to the level where you want the mastery to happen. On the other hand, if some student is advanced and AI tutor realizes that is getting bored, it's answering quickly all the questions, it will increase the level of difficulty. And you can tie all of this with a LMS like Paradiso with the skills gap you had. So you have skill gap, you have this tutor who've been trained, the AI tutor, and all day long throughout the year, these two are communicating with each other and getting just like a GPS. Every 1 second or 2 seconds, it keeps updating, taking you from here to here. This entire journey between your AI tutor as your buddy of your employee and your employee, they take the employee from here to here through the mastery process. Now, when you select your LMS or whatever LMS you already have, make sure the all 4 steps I mentioned in the skills-based training, that it can cover all those 4 steps. Even if one step is missing, the entire alignment is going to get broken, right? So I'll recap. So the first step is mapping, where we map what what ideal organization look like, a team or a department. Then we measure what is the inventory of our current organization. We're taking inventory by measuring. Then we're matching the requirements, the strategical changes from top down or the requirements from the customer, internal or external. We're matching that with what inventory we have. We're fulfilling it's like just like an e-commerce metaphor, right? So you have the inventory, you have, let's say, bunch of tennis rackets, and you have customer orders. We're trying to fill whether the Wilson or the Yonex or head rackets, whether we have enough of that, we have shortage of that. We're matching that. That's the easiest way I can explain. And then the next step is whatever the skill gaps are, we are making sure the L&D programs, the HR is giving opportunity for your talent to master it, to fill those gaps. And this circle keeps repeating because as you fill those gaps, as the requirement changes, as the promotions happen, new skills are needed, the new measurement is needed. This repeats almost twice a year or once a year, depending on how fast your organization moves. Now, one of the challenges as we consult with hundreds of companies across the world is this is such, this all sounds good. But when I go to the meeting with my CEO or COO or head of HR, they always complain about the budget. We have no respect. We don't have any seat on the table in the board meetings. L&D is an overhead, is a side function for our organization. How do I convince what you're telling me to my CXOs, my CEO, my COO, CHRO? How do I convince them the return on investment on this? I mentioned earlier, I have written an entire ebook, full guide on how to demonstrate ROI of learning programs. You can put a message in the chat. There's a ROI calculator also, but I'll tell you a simple equation which has worked always. See, if you're positioning L&D as onboarding and compliance training, the CXO will give you the as little budget as possible to not get into legal trouble. That's the bar they have. They want you to do HIPAA, they want you to do POSH, they want you to do diversity and equality, those kind of compliance courses. That's it. But if you are able to show that L&D can accelerate the revenue in the organization in a very logical fashion, and be able to show the roadmap of next 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, you become highly important. And I have done this again and again and again from auto manufacturer all the way to retail and IT companies and management consulting companies, where the L&D was able to secure 10, 20x, 20 times the budget they had the last year, and that kind of respect in the boardroom. How do we do that? So I'll give you an example. So one of the clients we've been working for the last 5 years is top 5 auto manufacturer. Everybody knows this company, but because of India, I'm not able to say that. They decided, their top management decided a few years ago that they want to be the leader in EV space, electronic vehicle space. Now, this is such a massive shift in their strategy. And the whole strategy is ready on the paper in the boardroom. But we all know strategy is only 5%. The other 95% is execution. So this to execute this EV strategy, they need to do different marketing. They need to sell differently. They need to price differently. They need to do different production plan. They need different engineers. Pretty much, they need to reskill almost 50% of their entire organization. Now imagine this mess. If this is just a conversation on the phone that let's reskill without a proper planning, if they have 10,000 plus employees in 10 different countries. Without this kind of framework, it's a complete mess. And that mess is what scares the CXO when they see the mess, when they see the wishy-washy subjective ROI kind of conversation. It's very hard for the CXO to approve those 100,000, 500,000, a million or $2 million L&D budget. But when you are able to show that, Mr. CEO, for you to execute this EV strategy, let's take a department, let's take an engineering department. These are the skills, knowledge, and attitudes they need to change. This is where they are today. This is where we need to take them. And that's not going to happen magically. We got to get them we need to measure them. We got to master them. And that needs money, that needs time. You're able to systematically show the alignment between the strategy and the execution on an individual engineer level and show if you don't do this, the strategy is just going to become a pipe dream and it will never execute because ultimately the strategy gets executed by the individual employees. There is no such thing as team or department. Those are theoretical, hypothetical concepts. What happens at the end of the day is a human being doing some change which gets accumulated into a team and a company and organization. So again, need some more information about the revenue acceleration framework. It's a topic in itself. I have done multiple webinars on that. But the point I'm trying to get you at, you need to be smart about how you talk to CXOs to be able to get that level of visibility and budget. And you need to align your programs with the revenue acceleration. Anything else will get you the minimum budget. When you show revenue acceleration, you get the maximum budget possible. So with that, I'm going to talk a couple of minutes about what we offer and then take your questions. So Paradiso group of companies, we have an entire platform targeted for training and education industry. It starts with our main platform, LMS, Learning Management System, which been in market for over 12 years, hundreds and thousands of clients. It also has LXP. We have an authoring tool, which is AI powered, but you can use it without AI or with AI. We have a course catalog with 100,000 plus courses from leadership to oil and gas, to healthcare, to retail, to IT, Office 365, email, negotiation, sales, you name it. So we build this catalog because that's the only way to manage the gap between the what you need in terms of mastery, what skills your company has and what they need. The gap needs to be filled through training. One of the ways we differentiate is integrations. So whether it's your HR, your ERP such as SAP or Oracle, or your HRMS system, whether it's PeopleSoft or Bamboo HR or any other HR system, or you're using WebEx, Zoom, all those integrations are out of the box and work. We also do a lot of business in strategy consulting, like designing your curriculum, designing your L&D strategy, the skills mapping, creating custom courses. So we have done thousands and thousands of hours of level 2, level 3, level 4 courses, e-learning courses. Um, so we had the whole kind of platform, one-stop shop is our USP, if you will, for training and development. Now, for this webinar, those who have attended, we have a special offer. If you book a meeting within next 7 days, you just have to book it. You don't have to actually take the meeting, just book it. And whenever you have time, you book it for next month or whatever. You get a free impact score audit. So this is the framework we have, which takes many, many hours for our employees to do. But we understand your current L&D programs and your current strategy and show you with current budget, how can you maximize the output? How can you maximize the impact? Where are the gaps? What's important? What's low hanging fruit, low cost with high impact? We try to figure out that. And we're able to do it because we see hundreds and hundreds of companies. You probably seen a couple of companies in your career, and you kind of have a bias toward your own organization, right? So as an external entity, we are able to add definitely value working with you. It's not an audit. It's called audit, but it's not like to give show faults or gaps in your strategy. It's to show you how you can maximize the return on your investment. This whatever we talked in this entire webinar, this is just a start. As you can see how complex it can get, the more employees you have. So we do consulting on that. You'll get free consultation. You'll get 20% off on all our products, including the AI products. You'll get a free proof of concept for our AI tutor platform. So usually we charge for this proof of concept to build a prototype for different organizations, whether it's Air India or other companies we have worked with, where they're implemented AI tutor for onboarding their pilots, or a healthcare company who is using AI tutor for patient education. So we do a free POC, no cost involved, implement it as a test pilot for you in your organization. So you'll save about $60,000 if you book a meeting within next 7 days. And how do you do that? You go to paradisosolutions.com. There is a big, huge button here called Book a Demo. It will show a calendar. You just pick a spot, and that's how simple it is. Or just email us at sales@paradisosolutions.com, or my email is sach@paradisosolutions.com, or just type in the chat session that you would like to book a meeting and your email address, and we'll get that sorted. This is great time for L&D folks like you and HR folks to really make an impact and get a seat in the boardroom, right? Because AI is going to create so much chaos and so much opportunities. If you're able to navigate, you get certified in AI. So I'm going to start a certification program also. Right now, it's all free. Feel free to ping us to watch some of the webinars and what AI and L&D can do, what AI tutor can do. I'm extremely confident about this whole AI tutor technology, not just in corporate, but also your kids. We have free app people can use, mobile app, where the kids are using it. My 6-year-old daughter uses it to listen to story, to play, to ask questions about math and back and forth. So it's exciting time. These are the contact information we have in front of you. Be in touch with us, check out all our free resources. It doesn't have to be commercial transaction, right? I'm excited about this. I'm passionate about this technology in education and training, and I hope we'll be in touch. And I really appreciate you guys taking time from your busy schedule and giving us those 60 minutes of your time. Thank you so much.